Hello, I'm Chris Richmond, and today I'm in the heart of mid-Norfolk, where I look at the history of one of the county's notorious trunk roads, as well as the plans for its future. Love it or hate it, the A47 is a vital route for many thousands of motorists travelling across our county. However, the sheer volume of traffic means that even the slightest incident can bring parts of the road network to a standstill. Which is why, on the stretch of road between the villages of Easton and North Tuddenham, work has started on a new dual carriageway designed to reduce accidents and cope with the increasing number of vehicles using this road each day.
But while scores of cars and trucks whiz obliviously across this ever-changing landscape, what interests me are the little nuggets of history left by the wayside, which are all reminders of the route this road once took.
First designated the A47 in 1923, this important cross-country route between Great Yarmouth and Birmingham has undergone many changes over the last 100 years. In this part of Norfolk alone, there have been several major improvement projects, and most of the towns and villages have been bypassed. And whilst hidden amongst the mundanity of the current route are clues revealing this road's history, it seems that parts of this route too will soon be consigned to the history books. In this video, I look at the former route between Easton and North Tuddenham, whilst doing my best to document the current road layout as seen in 2025, prior to the construction of the new dual carriageway.
Our story starts here at St Peter's Church in Easton, not far from the busy roundabout at the end of the current dual carriageway, built as the Norwich Southern Bypass.
This road serving St Peter's was once part of the main Norwich-Dereham road. But since the roundabout was constructed, the church lies virtually hidden from view. People question whether Easton even has a church at all.
Now to the west of the church, this truncated driveway leads to a small track, and believe it or not, this used to be the route of the Dereham Road. Now look at this. You can actually see the remains of the edge of the old road underneath these leaves. Incredible.
The old road then rejoins the current route to the west.
And you can see where the old road meets the new at Easton Lay-by.
Our next stop is the village of Honingham. And joining me is my geriatric 13-year-old Springer Spaniel, Max Bob.
Heading into the village on the Norwich Road, which was also part of the former route, I couldn't help but point out this curiosity.
With its quaint village pump and lack of public transport, these days Honingham village couldn't seem further off the main drag, despite being only a few hundred yards away from the current A47. The road through the village then winds its way west, leading to the notorious Berries Lane junction.
Currently an accident black spot, this area will be completely transformed by the construction of the new dual carriageway.
Replacing the dangerous staggered junction with Wood Lane will be a new interchange, with slip roads in both directions, linking to a pair of roundabouts beneath. A couple of hundred yards west of Berries Lane is another remnant of this road's past. This driveway, seemingly heading into the trees, is actually part of the old road, and was once where the road curved at the crest of the hill. Next is East Tuddenham. Affectionately known as the Emu Junction, it's here where we can actually walk along another part of the old road.
You'll notice there are a number of these milestones dotted along the old route, and these have been gradually restored over the past decade, thanks to the work of one man.
I restored approximately 150 milestones in Norfolk. Started in 2011, I think, and we met Prince Charles.
Nigel Ford was responsible for the restoration of many milestones across Norfolk. Assisted by a trusty band of volunteers, his work has received royal attention and gained recognition from historic England in the form of a prestigious Angel Award. So, how did it all start?
When I saw a milestone at Bulborough, it was hit by a flail cutter, and I felt really sad about it. So I wrote to the EDP and a letter was published. That was at the point in time I was taking early retirement, and I'd all been a little workaholic, and after that I just went crackers over it. So that was basically it, that was how it started.
But it's not just Nigel who's mad about milestones. Good friend Carol Haynes is a representative of a nationwide group devoted to the preservation of these roadside relics.
Right, so Carol, tell me a bit about the Milestone Society.
Well, it started, or the idea started in 2000. Somebody in Worcestershire, another person in Oxfordshire, he put an article in the Telegraph and asked people to write to him if they were interested. And he had over 400 replies. So they decided, well, that's enough to start a society. And the aim really is to preserve them. I suppose we have about 500 members around the country. I started getting interested about 40 years ago, I think, long before the society came about. And I tried to find out their history and I couldn't, so I thought, oh, I'll write a book about it, so I did.
The pair are keen to tell me about the story behind the recently cleared milestone opposite Honingham Church.
Well, it'd been moved from one side of the road to the other just at the beginning of the war, I think, 1940s, and for security reasons they either moved or buried several milestones to confuse the Germans.
Well, 1940 there was an invasion scare and the government decided that they try and make it difficult if any enemy landed, they wouldn't be able to find their way around the country, as if they didn't have their own maps anyway. But first of all, they said that all signposts, finger posts, must be taken up and hidden. And then a day or two later they realised there were lots of other signs with indications of place on, and including milestones. So they were either usually buried if they were in a country area, or defaced. We think this is what happened to the Honingham one, and then after the war it was put back on the wrong side of the road. The old maps show it definitely just on the eastern edge of the churchyard. Why it was put across the road, I don't know. Maybe people had forgotten where it was. But all the rest in the series are on the, that would be the north side of the road, wouldn't it?
And the stone here is certainly on the north side of the road. Nigel's hard work and Carol's dedication have given me a newfound appreciation for these historic waymarkers. I fear spotting them can actually become quite addictive. Now, let's keep walking. This part of the route is now called Albatross Road and remains as an access road, serving a mixture of old and new houses. And you can even see the remains of the old cat's eyes in the carriageway.
Although today the constant roar of traffic is much subdued, the way the sound bounces off the nearby trees and buildings makes you look over your shoulder and expect to see an old lorry rolling up behind you. Or maybe it's just the current residents driving to or from their homes.
Continuing our walk along a convenient footpath beside the current busy route, we arrive at the village of Hawkering on a slip road, which again is based on the former route.
The main village of Hawkering was bypassed during the 1970s, but every lay-by tells a story. You can see here the lay-by at the school, and further up a crescent junction, which was once the meandering path the road took.
The main A47 ran straight through the village.
There was actually a milestone here in Hawkering. It's likely that it would have been placed here at Manor Farm, but it seems to have vanished, probably around the time the village was bypassed and a new Matchell Lane junction put in.
I mean, in those days, the local authority weren't really interested in milestones, so a lot of them were just dumped. Maybe six or 7 years ago, one of our members in Norfolk, they went to a garden opening in Ludham and they saw the metal plate from the Hawkering stone it was pinned to a barn wall. And I went over to see the person, the owner. He told me that a friend of his had seen this at an auction and thought it was rather interesting and bought it and gave it to him. So I think probably when the bypass was built, you know, the stone was chucked on one side and somebody took the plate off.
Prior to the bypass, the route then continued west, snaking past St Michael's Church, whilst the left turn headed towards Mattershall.
And even here you can see how the carriageway has changed somewhat, with the different layers of resurfacing and the road gradually getting narrower each time.
Now, we're going to wander along Mattershall Lane, because it's here you can clearly see the path the new road will take. I'm standing in what will soon be the middle of a busy dual carriageway. As you can see behind me, they've cleared swathes of land over the last few months, and just over by those mounds in that field will be a new link road tunnelling under the new dual carriageway, whilst this road we're standing on will become a dead end in both directions. But never fear, walkers. Pedestrian access towards Mattershall is included in the new plans. We then head northwest along the start of the Ling Road, where more evidence of the former road network can be seen. What we have here is a crossroads where ahead of me is a dead end, and there's even a sign warning you of a locked gate. That's because, just like the plans for Mattershall Lane, this road was curtailed by the construction of the existing dual carriageway when North Tuddenham bypass was constructed, and just beyond Oak Farm you can actually see the remains of a junction directly onto the A47, which is now fenced off. Heading right onto Low Road. On the new plans, it appears this road will also be blocked off, as the dual carriageway will cross it, linking with the existing dual carriageway at Oak Farm. And good riddance, the junction with Low Road is an awful one to get out of. Continuing along the footpath alongside the A47, thanks to clearance work, we can also see the continuation of Ling Road, which, until very recently, provided a convenient pedestrian access from Hawkering to Poppy's Wood, where we have one final point of interest. Hidden just inside the entrance to Poppy's Wood is another one of these historic milestones, and immediately in front of it, yet another piece of the old road. You can even see the edging stones and cat's eyes. So not only do we have the current dual carriageway, the former single carriageway, but we also have this third road alignment. History under our feet. Oh, Bob. It is planned that the current single carriageway from Hawkering will once again link up with the old route at the corner of Ling Road near Poppy's Wood. From here, the road roughly follows the historic Turnpike route to Dereham, passing a former toll house. Interestingly, this route also bypasses the main settlement of North Tuddenham, and something on the map has piqued my curiosity. Let's go back to Low Road. If you're easily disorientated, you may wonder why this area is North Tuddenham, and yet North Tuddenham is also a couple of miles down the road and across the A47. What if I told you North Tuddenham was actually split in half? When North Tuddenham was bypassed in the early 1990s, the dual carriageway cut straight across Low Road, which was blocked off in both directions. These days, it's a 1.6 mile trip to drive from one end of Low Road to the other. But for pedestrians, it's still possible to cross the busy dual carriageway. And if we continue to follow the course of the old Low Road, we'll end up at a footbridge which goes over the dual carriageway and onto the remainder of North Tuddenham village. A footbridge was installed, probably as a cost-effective compromise influenced by the lack of through traffic. Now, a question. I genuinely don't know the answer, but looking at the way this village is laid out, with the majority of dwellings constructed on Low Road, prior to the Turnpike, could this have been the route of the Dereham-Norwich Road? I personally don't know the answer, but I know of one man who might.
This certainly was the main street between Dereham and through to Hawkering. Low Road, which was originally called Low Street, was the main road to the village.
Parish Councillor Mike Smith has been researching the history of North Tuddenham for almost 10 years.
So back in 2016, we were looking for grant money for the church, restoration of the church, and I applied for a lottery fund donation. I applied, but it was rejected because I didn't know enough about the village. So this prompted me to do a lot of research about the history of North Tuddenham, its churches, the people, and the book that I wrote, The Village Appraisal of North Tuddenham. I thought that would get me through the grant problem, but it didn't, and I applied again, and they said it wasn't urgent, which is ironic because 3 years later the church was about to fall down. But it was successfully restored, and that's my attachment to North Tuddenham. The A47 destroyed this village as a village and split it in two at least, and people argue it's split into four. We live on the north side, we have the pub and the garage. You live on the south side, you've got the village hall and the church, quite two distinct areas. But North Tuddenham is so widespread, people don't know where the others live. You've got people beyond Pound Farm, almost towards Elsing, versus people down here, almost towards Hawkering, and you've got people out on the Ling Road who are completely, poles apart from the rest of us. So it's people are quite dispersed in this village, but the concentration is definitely on Low Road East and West and Mill Road.
In the 18th century, turnpike trusts were set up all over Britain as a way of maintaining through routes to major trading destinations. Smaller parishes often struggled to keep their own roads to a satisfactory condition, so a new way of funding the maintenance of these busy routes was sought. The current main road through North Tuddenham was part of such a scheme, the Norwich, Swaffham and Mattershall Turnpike.
I can actually start in 1755 when some gentlemen got together and set up a subscription to put up milestones between Norwich and Dereham. The turnpike itself started in 1770. This is the Norwich, Swaffham and Mattershall Turnpike, and they had toll houses along to take tolls from travellers. The first evidence of milestones was in 1780. The ones that we have at the moment, they were made in 1868. They were made by Joseph Stanley, who was a stonemason in St Stephen's Street in Norwich.
One milestone, one of the original ones, dating back from the 1700s, was buried in somebody's outhouse. When they did some renovation, they found it. And it's one of the very original ones.
There is another very interesting one from that series, the one in Mattershall. I think there are only about a dozen zero milestones in the whole country, and we've got one in Mattershall. It's Mattershall Zero, so that's very unusual. That's rather nice.
The turnpikes were abolished following the arrival of the railways, but almost 300 years later, the car is king. And with the number of cars on the road increasing ever since, it's now time to upgrade the route once again. So where will the new road go, and which parts of the old road will remain? Let's look at this clever animation I devised to find out more. Starting from Easton, the Easton roundabout will be removed, creating a continuous dual carriageway from the Norwich Southern bypass. At the Blind Lane Taverham Road junction, a new interchange with feeder road will allow access to and from Easton Village and the existing local road network. St Andrew's Church at Honingham will be served by an underpass, whilst the Honingham roundabout will be kept. Heading west, the existing main road will remain for local traffic. At Berries Lane, a completely new interchange will be built, linking with Wood Lane, and also capacity for a potential Western Link road to the Norwich NDR. However, Berries Lane itself will be closed to through traffic. The existing Emu junction at East Tuddenham will also see Church Lane closed to through traffic, whilst the existing main road will continue to provide access to Sandy Lane. This then brings us to Hawkering, where the new road will completely bypass the village a few hundred metres south of the existing road. Both Mattershall Lane and Low Road will become closed to through traffic, whilst a new link road is to be constructed,
allowing both vehicles and pedestrians access towards Mattershall. And finally, at North Tuddenham, the road will continue to join the start of the current dual carriageway, whilst the existing single carriageway will be re-sculpted to once again form a through route with a new junction at Poppy's Wood.
I was involved with National Highways and people from Hawkering Council to make sure that we did something about the Ling Road around Poppy Wood and the heavy duty traffic that's still coming through there.
So what do my guests think of the new plans?
Well, I suppose it's inevitable. I suppose it has to come. It is one of our main roads, isn't it?
Sadly, because I've been begging up, I can't give any comments.
I think the A47, this particular section, has got the worst record in Norfolk for accidents. So in terms of removing the roundabouts and putting these interchanges in, to my mind, is a good thing. So it'll speed up traffic towards Norwich.
So whilst this ever-changing route adapts to the demands of the 21st century, we've seen just how much has changed and what's been left behind, as well as what the future holds. And whilst the latest developments may seem controversial to some, the benefits will be clear to many. As the construction contractors move in, I personally look forward to less disruptive journeys into the city and beyond, whilst at the same time appreciating the history of this important cross-country route. Thanks for watching.
Now for the obligatory closing paragraph. If you enjoy my quirky, if slightly self-indulgent adventures, please don't forget to like and subscribe. I really appreciate your support. Thanks for watching, and goodbye.